Fear thrives in the darkness, creeping into our minds when we least expect it. The worst thing you can do? Feed it. And tonight, that's exactly what we're here to do. So brace yourself, because as you listen, the rustling leaves, distant knocks, and echoing footsteps might not be your imagination anymore. Welcome to Campfire Stories. I was in town for a work conference, stuck in one of those old hotels that still smelled like cigarettes despite the no smoking signs. It wasn't the nicest place, but it was cheap. And after a long day, all I wanted was to sleep. I checked in late and was given a room at the end of the hallway on the 4th floor. It was a long corridor with faded carpet, dim lighting, and those old, clunky room doors with actual metal keys instead of key cards. That first night, something felt off. When I stepped out to grab a snack from the vending machine, the hallway seemed longer than I remembered. My door, room 417, looked farther away when I turned back. I hesitated, blinked a few times, but nothing changed. I figured I was just exhausted. The second night, I noticed it again. I counted my steps from the elevator to my room. 38. Later, after coming back from dinner, I counted again. 46. The hallway lighting was dim and the carpet had a strange repeating pattern that made the floor feel like it was shifting under my feet. Maybe I miscounted. By the third night, I couldn't ignore it. Standing at the elevator, I looked down the corridor. It stretched unnaturally, the overhead lights flickering as if struggling to keep up. I walked forward step by step, the air feeling heavier, as though the walls were slowly pressing in. My breaths came shorter. I turned back toward the elevator. Maybe I was imagining things. But as I glanced behind me one last time, I saw it. Room 417, farther down than the night before. I didn't sleep that night. I booked an early flight and left before sunrise. I don't know what was wrong with that hotel. I don't want to know. But every once in a while, I have dreams about walking down that hallway. And no matter how far I go, my room never gets closer. I moved into my new apartment about a month ago. It wasn't anything special. Just a one-bedroom place in an older building. Cheap rent, decent location. Perfect for someone like me who just needed a quiet place to live. The first time I noticed it, I had just finished setting up my bed. I turned off the ceiling light, leaving only my bedside lamp on, and settled in with my phone. Just as I was about to fall asleep, the lamp flickered. It was quick, barely half a second. But in that brief moment, I could have sworn I saw something in the corner of the room. A shape. Dark. Still. I told myself it was just my eyes adjusting. But the next night, it happened again. This time I was watching a video on my laptop when the room dimmed for a second. My heart skipped a beat. Again, that shape in the corner, right by the closet door. I turned my head fast. Nothing. The closet was open, just a crack, same as before. I exhaled, shaking my head. Maybe I was tired. Maybe the light bulb was going bad. But as the nights went on, the flickers became more frequent. Sometimes it was just a quick dimming. Other times, the room would go dark for a full second. And every time I saw it, that shadow always in the same spot. At one point, I thought I saw a hand. I stopped using the bedside lamp and left the ceiling light on all night. It didn't help. The flickers still happened. And then, something changed. I was lying in bed, scrolling on my phone when the light dimmed again. But this time I didn't just see the shadow. I heard something. A soft shuffling sound, like fabric brushing against the wall. I bolted upright, heart pounding. My closet door, which had been open just a crack, was now slightly wider. I told myself it was the draft. The building was old. The doors probably weren't aligned properly. but I started sleeping with the closet shut tight. Then came the worst night. I had finally decided I needed proof. I set up my phone on my nightstand, recording the room as I tried to sleep. If something was there, I'd see it in the footage. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Minutes passed. The apartment was silent. Then, the light flickered. I turned to my phone, still recording. I tried not to move, not to react. The light flickered again, and this time, the shadow wasn't in the corner anymore. It was closer, right next to my bed. I grabbed my phone and stopped the recording, too afraid to check the footage. I turned on every light in the apartment and stayed awake until sunrise. The next morning, I finally worked up the nerve to watch the video. At first, nothing. Just me lying in bed. Then, the flicker. The shadow appeared. Another flicker. The shadow shifted. And then, for a split second before the light returned, the camera caught something else. A face. Right above mine. I don't remember packing. I just remember leaving. I don't know if it was just a trick of the light, a faulty bulb, or my mind playing games with me. Maybe my brain was filling in the darkness with something that wasn't there. But I do know one thing. Every night I stayed there, it got closer. And I wasn't going to wait to find out what happened when it finally reached me. The man in the rearview mirror. I've been driving late at night for years. Long shifts, long highways, and empty roads have become part of my routine. You get used to the quiet, the way the darkness wraps around your car, the occasional flickering streetlight passing overhead. I never thought much of it, until last week. It started on a stretch of highway just outside the city. It was close to 2 a.m. and I was heading home after a long shift. The road was nearly deserted, just me and the occasional truck in the distance. I was tired, but not exhausted, just looking forward to getting home. That's when I saw him. I glanced at my rearview mirror, just out of habit, and there he was, a man sitting in my back seat. My breath caught. My hands tightened on the wheel. I snapped my head around so fast my neck ached. Empty. The back seat was empty. I swallowed hard, forcing a deep breath. Just fatigue. Maybe a trick of the light. I adjusted the mirror, turned up the radio, and kept driving. A few miles later, I looked again. He was back. This time, I saw him more clearly. His skin was pale, stretched tight over sharp cheekbones. His eyes, dark, hollow, locked onto mine through the mirror. He wasn't moving, wasn't breathing, just there. I pulled over so fast my tires screeched against the asphalt. My heart hammered as I turned around, phone light in hand. Nothing. The seats were empty. The highway was still and quiet. I sat there for a long moment, breathing hard, forcing myself to think. Then finally I eased back onto the road. I didn't check the mirror again. I just focused on driving, on the road ahead, on the weight of my own exhaustion pressing down on me. It was probably nothing. Maybe I was more tired than I thought. Then I saw them, faint smudges on the inside of the rear window. Oily streaks, like fingerprints, like someone had been sitting there. I haven't driven alone at night since.